Hi, everybody. This is Matt Tiano with TCSL, and welcome to the Summer 2024 TCSL League webinar. We had the webinar on March 13th, and unfortunately, we had an issue recording the webinar. And by issue, it was my fault for not pressing the right button to begin. So we're going to do it in this forum. We'll cover the same content we covered the other night. We will address as best we can each and every question that came up on that webinar. And if we forgot something or you still have questions about various content, feel free to reach out to us and we'll do what we can to provide the support that you need. Here's our agenda. The purpose of these webinars is really to get team staff up to date with league initiatives, schedule process, talk about what you need on game day. We're going to talk about a sideline project initiative. Many of you are familiar with our efforts there. Talk a little bit about the club pass, referees, and then talk about postseason play at the end. Just to recap the levels for U11 to U19 teams in the TCSL structure. There are 4 levels of play at U11 and U12, national, regional, state, and cities. And then 13 and above, there are 3 levels of play: regional, state, and cities, regional being the highest of the 3. Just to recap how we form divisions, we have a fairly in-depth process that we go through by working collaboratively with TCSL club directors. We factor in the desire to be competitive in terms of the bracket makeup. We want teams to have a good experience. We want games to be competitive. But also, we don't believe that teams should have to travel very far to play a good game. So we factor in geography as well. So we're going to release schedules sometime on March 18th, and it could be in the evening, but we will get schedules out on March 18th. We rarely or try not to promise, but unless there's some sort of a crisis that we need to deal with, we do believe that we will be able to get schedules out on Monday. To recap how we build the summer TCSL schedule. The first thing to note is the first play date is Monday, April 29th, and the last play date is Monday, July 8th. The July 4th week is blacked out, the exception of July 1st, which is that Monday, as well as Memorial Day. From there, we then designate, based on the play levels of all teams, whether they are a Monday, Wednesday, or a Tuesday, Thursday team. Just that you are a Monday, Wednesday, or a Tuesday, Thursday team does not mean that when you go to reschedule and you have a conflict and the other team agrees to move to a game on a Tuesday and you're a Monday, Wednesday club, that is okay. Don't feel like you are locked into a certain play date. We factor in things like club blackout dates. So a club might know that there's a big town festival, for example, that they don't want their teams to play on a specific day. We factor that in. We also factor in team blackout dates. All teams have the ability to black out dates. Now, some clubs manage that on behalf of their teams. Some clubs designate that responsibility to the teams themselves. It sort of varies dependent on how the club wants to manage that. We then factor in coaching conflicts. It's very common for coaches in TCSL to coach multiple teams. We know that if a game is, if a coach has a specific game at home on one night and away, it's very likely that that will result in a reschedule. So what we do is we say home and home on one night is acceptable. Home and away, or away and away on a specific night, is not acceptable. Now, the disclaimer is for a coach coaching more than 2 teams, it sometimes becomes difficult. There were a few cases that we were not able to resolve. down to the mathematical algorithm of what we're trying to accomplish. We then factor in how many games a club can host on a specific night. And then, very importantly, we don't want the full schedule to be done by June 1st. We want to space matches out as best we can. So the scheduling process is quite complex. We are one of the only leagues in the United States that uses a computer to generate our schedule based on the various constraints and inputs. But we believe that the schedules we produce are very, very good. That said, we also know that reschedules are nearly inevitable. There will be something that comes up that you weren't able to plan for or what have you. So we allow for a reschedule period. That will go live once the schedules are released. The reschedule window will be active until April 1st. Teams have an obligation to accommodate opponent requests during this window of time. A couple tips in terms of the process. So all communication between opponents will happen within Gotsport. We ask that you're not tempted to text opponents or email opponents. The reason is there is a function within Gotsport that allows TCSL to intervene or provide support if a reschedule isn't moving and we need to see the history. So we just ask that there is a chat that happens within Gotsport. When there is a chat message delivered, you will receive an email that you have a new chat message. Okay, so that's the first step. Chat with your opponent from within Gotsport. The second step is once there's some alignment in terms of possible dates, the home club will secure a facility from their club administrator or field scheduler. Once all details are confirmed, the home team submits the request to TCSL, also within Gotsport, and the away team will then approve it. Once all of that happens, TCSL approves it, and a notification message will be sent to all parties that their match has in fact been moved. All parties includes the field scheduler, the referee assigner, both team coaches, both team managers. So the reschedule deadline is April 1st. Don't feel like you have to memorize this from this screen. We will provide resources and documentation so that you're comfortable when it comes time to reschedule matches, but we do ask that it's an orderly process and that this process is ultimately followed. The other thing that I'll mention is we ask that as soon as you receive your schedule, that you identify any possible conflicts as opposed to waiting till March 30th and now you're initiating a reschedule request. It does take a couple days to get all details sorted out. We want to give clubs, field schedulers, referee assigners ample time to finish so that they can move on to other things. Now, if there's a conflict that's absolutely unavoidable after April 1st, you can bring that to your club leadership. They can loop us in. We've been known to be flexible. We want to be flexible, but we also want to have a standard around this is the deadline. There's ample opportunity, and we want to respect the fact that clubs deserve to have a final schedule as of April 1. Here are just a few screenshots from Gotsport. The first, or the top, I should say, is an example of where you will chat and ultimately approve the change request. And then secondly, is just the chat function. So it allows for back and forth chat, like I mentioned, and we ask that that is the mechanism by which teams chat. Game day. Teams are required to bring to the field two things: a photo roster, which signals that the players are properly registered with U.S. Club Soccer, and then a staff pass for each adult that is coaching. The staff pass, the fact that an adult has that tells the world that they are ultimately approved from a background check, from a safe sport, from a disqualification review perspective to ensure that they're certified or approved to be coaching. We got the question on the webinar, should managers have their credential as well? The answer generally is yes. In case the manager will need to step in case of a red card on the part of the coach or the coach is in traffic. Um, it's important that anybody coaching has a physical credential. Think of going through security at the airport. They ask for your ID. No different than uh, how a soccer game works in TCSL. We will send out more information, a handout relative to game day procedures. That's why it says see link. We'll send that out when we send out schedules on Monday. The other thing we do is we publish home team kits. And what this does, it allows for a team that's traveling to you to have an idea what the home team is going to be wearing. There are a few new TCSL members that are not yet reflected on this graphic. We will get those updated. And there is a possibility that a few of the existing members are updating their colors. We're working through that process. But we ask that when you are a home team, when you are at home, that you follow this diagram because it makes the game day experience that much easier. Another piece that we're excited to announce is now a third rendition of the Sideline Project. This has been a popular initiative. We've received many sources of positive feedback about this course that now, as I mentioned, will be in its third year. It will not be the same course. It'll be a refresher of sorts, and it will be around the game day experience and creating a positive environment that we're dedicated to providing ultimately. Um, so we ask that coaches, managers, send this to your teams. It's not a big commitment. It'll be a 20-minute course. We are also doing a contest with all TCSL clubs. We'll have a leaderboard in terms of percent completions and more information to follow. This will be in April leading up to the summer season. Last year we had 5,000 complete the course. Excuse me. Last year we had about 5,000 completing the course. This year our goal will be to surpass that, obviously. Got the question on the webinar, is there a way to track who completes it? There are some clubs that have actually required this, and we've provided the list so that they can cross-reference and ensure that their members have completed it. And we're happy to do that moving forward for anybody that that asks. We do get the data from the Sideline Project, but ultimately we believe that as many families, parents, spectators take this course, the game day experience will be that much better. So we appreciate your support in pushing this out. We'll make sure to communicate it as soon as it's ready to go. The club plan, the club pass. This was a rule change that was effective this past fall season. We implemented this new rule, with club director support. We've made changes, as mentioned here, from previous seasons. This is applicable beginning at U11, so U9 and U10 teams are exempt from this rule. Ultimately, players are permitted to play down one division below their primary roster level, where they are listed as a primary player. Okay. If you are a younger player playing up, you may do so without restriction. So it prevents, for example, a regional player that is primarily on a regional team to play down to a city's level. Okay. We expect team coaches, when using the Club Pass, to ensure you are in compliance with this. We got the question at our webinar, well, how do you manage this or audit this? We have tools in place to audit it, but we ultimately need team coaches to ensure that you are in compliance. We will be sending out, when we send out the schedules, we'll provide a handout that provides a little more detail, but there are consequences for playing ultimately ineligible players, so make sure that you are in compliance. There is still plenty of flexibility with regards to the club pass to pull from uh, younger age groups, or worst case, one level below. That still is permitted within the rules. We still ask that clubs leverage the club pass in the spirit of the rule, which is ensuring that player development is at the forefront of all decisions. And just to go over the levels one more time. So an NPL Super player cannot play on a TCSL regional roster. NPL Premier cannot play TCSL State, etc. Referees. So this has been a topic that we've included as part of our webinars now the last several seasons. It's a topic that is dear to my heart. I've been a referee now over 20 years. Refereed at a fairly high level collegiately and involved administering and assigning college matches to this day. So it's a topic that I'm passionate about. Um, it is one that I believe the game day environment can be uh, hampered, if you will, by an inexperienced or incapable referee. Um, so one way to raise the quality or raise the level of officials is increasing the pool of officials, and specifically those adults that have played before, those adults that have coached before. Those are our best candidates to impact game quality. So here I am asking you to consider this. We've been outspoken about the desire to remove barriers for becoming an official, becoming a referee, and we believe that it's now simpler than it ever has been. There's no longer two websites, for example. There's one single website. The mentoring and the training, I think, is really, really strong. It's taken us, I think, to the next level. Um, Committing to one game per week changes the entire dynamic. And again, we invite you to join. The other piece that we're excited about is supporting referee training and mentoring. Here are just a few examples, a few photos from this winter where we supported the state referee committee with what they've coined the shadow program, where new referees are ultimately paired with an experienced referee for the duration of a game. Especially at U9 through U11, those games are officiated by oftentimes brand new officials. And if we can get them to be more confident and more skilled with some actual real on-field mentoring, we feel like that improves the referee experience in the game. Um, so referee shortage is often thrown around quite a bit. Um, it's probably true. I would say Minnesota has experienced this less than other places throughout the country. For example, it's very common throughout the country to only have one official on U9 to U12 and often U9 to U14. And we've managed most of our matches, U11 to U14, have three officials. Um, our perspective relative to when do you reschedule, when do you cancel a game is this. You need to have one certified official. If you can't find a certified official, the game unfortunately needs to be rescheduled. And our hopes are that those moments are few and far between. 15 to 19 and under games, it's our belief that we need to prioritize those matches to have three officials. If a match only has a center official, Each team is to provide a club lines person, and those individuals are only responsible for calling the ball in or out of play. They are not responsible for offside. They're not responsible for assisting the referee with foul selection. They are there only to assist with the ball in or out of play. Again, referee shortage is thrown around quite a bit. We're trying everything we can do to be proactive to ensure that we don't end up like some other places. We have in Minnesota consistently, there's been a decline in terms of the number of certified referees when you compare 8-9 years ago to where we are today. However, last year was the first year that we reversed that trend that was downward. We've now, we certified last year more officials than we did the previous year, which is a win. And I think it's something that should be celebrated. We still need more officials. So please consider taking me up on that offer. If you run into issues becoming certified or have a question, you can always reach out to us and we'll connect you with the right people. info@tcslsoccer.com. And last, postseason. The Final Four is our league championship event. It's a popular event that has gained notoriety and prestige over the past several years that we've incorporated it. It's an exclusive event that's limited to the top 4 teams in each age, gender, or division. And they will meet July 12th through the 14th to ultimately crown a league champion. Okay. Just to give an example, this is one division. I think this is 13U cities. I might be wrong on that. But in the case of having 3 separate divisions, want to be clear that we don't take 4 teams from each group. We take group winners first, and then we take a wild card, the next best team that is qualified for the Final Four in that manner. There is an opportunity to opt out. We assume that every team is participating in this event unless you tell us otherwise. That date is to be determined, but we ask that clubs adhere to that so that we can move forward with a quality event. That concludes our webinar this evening. Thank you for tuning in. We know it's a lot of content. We're here to make your soccer experience an enjoyable one. We wish you the absolute best this season and beyond. If you have further questions, you're welcome to reach out to us. The best place to start would be support.tcslsoccer.com. We have a ton of resources that you might be able to find the answer to your question there. Otherwise, you're welcome to submit a ticket to our office so that we can help. Have a great season, everyone.